SPY 570, GameStop $80 plus, 2 weeks max. Yesterday I posted this over on X, and we're going to talk about why I think this and why this is the case. It's not just a trust me. I'm going to explain my thesis here. Watch until the end of the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn post notifications on. Now, we have seen ugly red days in GameStop. We have likely, if you're in the same boat, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, we have seen accounts deteriorate while holding large amounts of call options or large amounts of shares or both, and people are pissed off, including myself, obviously. But you have to really take a look at your investment thesis. Are you going to hold this thing? Or are you going to try and figure out how to play the cycles? Are you going to try and figure out where we're at before you close your positions for losses? What are you going to do here, right? It is now June 14th. Most people watching this probably have July 18th expiration. Maybe I'm on the dot with all of this, maybe I'm not, but it becomes a new day and you're just a little bit less pissed because you wake up in the morning and it's a new day and it's the weekend, markets close, a lot of the noise is blocked out. Okay, so let's talk about what I have here. SPY sub 570, GameStop $80 plus, 2 weeks max. This rattled a lot of people. Because people get pissed at the hopium, quote unquote, and then they say that they're calling for sub 15, sub 10. I don't understand why people follow, why they watch the videos, and yet they call their own investment thesis to go lower, much lower. Why even hold the stock? Okay, I don't get it, but we carry on. Let's talk about the post. So I'll preface by saying my time frame could be adjusted to 2 to 4 weeks. I said 2 weeks max. It brings more attention, more confidence, more hype, and that is initially what I do still think 2 weeks, but it could be adjusted for 2 to 4 weeks. I'll explain right here. First, why do I think this? Well, I believe liquidity has to be pulled or will be pulled from the markets to fuel any sort of major run in GameStop, AMC, or other basket meme stocks. Not only is this logical, but it historically happens this way. Secondly, both GameStop as well as the S&P 500 have recently attracted volatility. SPY has attracted volatility over the past week, which you know of because of quote unquote World War III or world wars or whatever with Iran versus Israel. And then the US also getting involved. GameStop has also received a lot of volatility with the convertible note offering, the convertible bonds, right? Here's why this matters. Well, the stars are aligning for no better time than now, in my opinion, obviously, unless we get a nothing burger and we have to wait longer, all that other stuff. But the stars are aligning for no better time than now when volatility is high. And they both have what I would say is GameStop with a positive catalyst, and I'll explain briefly, and then SPY with a negative catalyst or panic, uncertainty, right? You have war. Thirdly, looking at the options chain, GameStop currently has high open interest as well as implied volatility. Premium is spiking with the options chain favoring the bulls, 35% outweighing the put side of things. So the option chain is not equal. People are betting upside. Obviously, we did see a major sell-off, so it makes more sense that people are betting upside, but we do have a major gamma ramp that is built above levels, I believe, above $26. And we'll talk about why that is important for the charts because we're going to cover the charts. So what has to happen for this thesis to hit? Well, I think the algorithms are going to make it play out this way either way, likely, but GameStop needs to issue a catalyst within the 2-week time frame that I initially called for. So even if my time frame is adjusted to 2 to 4 weeks, I believe within the 2 weeks, we need to see some sort of catalyst from GameStop. So this is my thesis. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. The gamma ramp is there. GameStop currently has roughly $10 billion. And institutional money has been sidelining the market in a very similar way they did early 2025 before we saw that major SPY drop. Now, carrying on with this information, what's accurate, right? Well, it's Wall Street versus Main Street. Professional investors sold $4.2 billion in U.S. equities last week, according to Bank of America. And over the last 4 weeks, institutional selling reached $2 billion per week on average. And on the other hand, retail investors bought $700 million last week, bringing the 4-week average of purchases to $400 billion. So institutions are slowly creeping out of the market while retail is buying and trying to hold it up, but they're not scaling out at a high degree because they don't want to cause panic. But over the last 12 weeks, individual investors specifically have purchased 1.6 billion in US stocks on average each week. So as the market rebounded, professional investors dumped stocks, retail bought stocks. Do you see the issue here? We also see them flocking, big money flocking into treasuries, flocking into gold. We're seeing volatility come into silver, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows just because the SPY is near 600, right? People are saying, well, the SPY's at all-time highs. You have to look deeper than that. Plus, you have the war. Iran has canceled nuclear talks with the US, which were set to take place tomorrow. You have war continuously escalating. You have a possible catalyst for GameStop being a share buyback with a little bit of tin. Ryan Cohen builds Alibaba stake, wants more share buybacks. This was January of 2023. He then posted February 2024. If China wants to stabilize their financial markets, they should remove the capital controls and allow their companies to freely repurchase shares. I want to talk about the charts. Okay, SPY's at 597. We already, before I even called this, got a technical breakdown on the spot. Now, given we've seen this a couple of times recently and the SPY is still very well in an uptrend, but we were in an aggressive uptrend on the SPY with slowly weakening momentum, which we came to a halt right here and broke support. This is the first level of a crackdown, given we do have a buy zone right here, but then we don't have another buy block until we get very low around 550. So that is something to note as well. Let's talk about this. We never hit my retracement zone. We came close the last time, 575.96, but we never hit that retracement zone. And I personally believe that that is where we're coming to, sub 572, sub 570, and possibly, I'm not calling for upside after, possibly beginning the crash, right? How long? Well, you never really know. Maybe the SPY opens green, and maybe we get one more week of us holding up here. But ultimately, I see weakness. I see a breakdown. Very simple from the chart aspect side of things. GameStop, also very interesting. Okay, there's a couple things to note. One, chart patterns. Some people, well, let's not even start with that, right? Let's start with GameStop is at its, what I would say, floor price. A lot of buy blocks down here. And you can see GameStop held with a wick right here. And then we saw the daily candle kind of press up against it on Friday. Here's what I see coming. And this is where the option chain is going to do a lot for us, possibly. Okay, where do I start here? We got a lot. We got a lot here. One, I believe GameStop is right at this point. A possible point. This is a possible point I see GameStop at, in which case GameStop will trade something like this where we hit our bottom. And now this week we won't see much but a move, possibly to $24. And then the following week, we probably may or may not won't see much of a move. We may get up to $28. And then the following week, which is the week of June 30th. This comes from June 30th to a 4-day week for July 3rd. I believe we will guaranteed be at this zone. Then this is where the option chain is going to kick in here for July 18th expiration, right? And I'll tell you why this could be off in a second, and it can happen earlier, and that is why I put 2 weeks max. So that's the 2-week period that we have going forward. And at this point, here's my thesis. I believe we will definitely come up to $28. Nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is this descending resistance zone right here. It's not a complete gap fill, but I do believe we will get to this within the next 2 weeks. And at this point, the gamma is either going to take us higher on a catalyst, or we will crash from here into a very bearish scenario into July 18th, where all of these call options go bust. Now, I think this is the less likely case scenario. I think we come up to this level at 28 no matter what. And the gamma ramp is built too high, Plus, shorts have stacked on this entire way down, so they're going to be down a bit as well. And I believe we take off from here, possibly Roaring Kitty coming back, although I don't really care too much about the tinfoil anymore or the catalyst. What I'm looking at is GameStop as a company. They have 10 billion, and we have a technical gamma ramp built for GameStop to break out higher. Now, if we break above 29, this is where it gets interesting, because that is right around that new conversion price. Then I believe we skyrocket from there, possibly touch some resistance around $33, $32.50, right? And then following that, hopefully gap above this wedge 37. That's how you know it's game on. Where would we go from here? Well, there's a lot of sell pressure on the stock, but I do believe $60 is the first target, $80 is the next target, and if you break higher, then you're going to see a squeeze, probably likely past the all-time highs above 120. This is just my expectations. I think the company has never been situated in a better spot that they are fundamentally. There's no reason to be short. And on top of that, we have a large lump sum that is DRS through computer share, and then a large lump sum that could be bought back by the company themselves. And there's really no worse time to be a short seller than right now. On top of that, we have the same pattern setup, in my personal opinion, from the beginning back here to right here for GameStop. If you grab this is kind of what I see that we're trading at right here, which leads GameStop into something looking like this, which everything has played out perfectly, which lines us up right to this rally. So lottery stocks, when is the peak? That's all I want to know, right? Because that's what people want to know. Well, I think possibly this thing could be over July 10th. We could peak July 10th, 11th, that week. That ends the week, July 11th, right? Could be over right then and there. Or we could trade for another week into the July 18th expiration, still continuously squeezing. But I do believe they're going to attempt to possibly, get this thing down before the 20 to 30 day period back below conversion price. You might see a huge spike and then it come right back down. It's possible. It's also possible to stay up there higher, trade up there longer. The only thing I'm worried about is the possible early expiration for July 18th. Okay, I would be looking at 28 to possibly get a roll in on these if IV is low. This is my personal thesis here, but this is what I anticipate. It's just what I expect. I think the cycles are aligned. I also believe that we have had very similar scenarios. This happened right here. Actually, let me explain this to you. April 9th, 63,200 contracts were traded, 87.6% being calls, indicating a bullish sentiment. And then we saw a lot of speculation that this was Roaring Kitty over here, May of 2024, right? And we are not only coincidentally, in my opinion, at this setup, but we're seeing a very similar move on the options chain, which is so interesting, right? So that is couple correlations right there. On top of that, GameStop's first announcement, March 26th, for the convertible bond offering brings you to right here. Shortly after, we had the same play where we built this ugly bottom. Same play as back here, which I believe we are at right here. This choppy bottom for another move higher, but I think each move is going to get more and more aggressive. This is ultimately what I'm expecting as far as AMC goes. I believe AMC has the same setup from back here, right? Coming into where we are now, which I believe the squeeze will be from Monday, July 7th on AMC to Friday, July 11th. Same thing with GameStop. This is when we start seeing serious moves. So I'm looking at the first week of July. Why can it happen earlier? Why could this be off? Why could we squeeze straight up from here? Why is this even a possibility? Why am I even talking about that? Well, I'm talking about that because I have said there's a 2-week period, and that brings you into July, right? Following that, about the third week brings you into July, which is my main thesis, about 3 weeks realistically. But we have June OPEX, which I've talked about. This is not just June OPEX. It aligns with quarterly ETF rebalancing. And what this means is any securities that were failed to deliver through ETFs that carry GameStop or AMC specifically, XRT, GMEU, IWM for AMC, and several other ones. Any ones that had high FTDs, which you likely saw on these moves, or this move, right? Either way, that T plus 35 period, all that other stuff, these shares have to be returned before June 20th, which there's 1 week left to do that. They don't have to return like-kind securities. They have to return exact securities on quarterly ETF rebalancing dates. So we don't have another great window like this from a technical standpoint for quite a bit. And I do believe that there is still a high possibility for this week, this upcoming week, to crush this sideways trading thesis, right? And just spike higher, completely get the gap fill, and then enter a squeeze early July. That is, I mean, there's no, as far as bearish case scenario goes, I would be completely surprised if GameStop begins to continue to bleed coming into Monday and we sell off even further. One, not only because there's buy blocks. Two, the amount of buying pressure down here would, in my opinion, just guarantee a squeeze because there's nobody who's not going to purchase GameStop under $18, in my opinion. And then on top of that, the on-balance volume has had another floor being raised, which is beautiful, right? You can kind of guess how many people are actually holding shares versus letting go, and you can see that people are not letting go of shares. That is ultimately what this bottom line represents right here, right, that I have. So there's several things that line up. Couple things that I want to note before I close out the video. One, I want your thoughts in the comments down below. This is my strong thesis. It's not a trust me. It's what I think is going to happen here. Secondly, as far as Bitcoin goes, because I think there is something with Bitcoin as well as the SPY, as well as GameStop not buying as much Bitcoin as we wanted them to buy. Everything has played out with Bitcoin up until this very point where we are showing weakness even over the weekend. And I did believe we are going to see a higher high above 116, 117, possibly 122, possibly 136. Now, if you zoom out and you take these factors into effect, if Bitcoin fails the 200-day moving average and gets a full candle close and then a full candle open and formation on the daily beneath it, I have to change my thesis on Bitcoin that we're going to enter a bear market. Now, this is still good. The reason it's good, GameStop didn't buy too much Bitcoin. The reason it's good, this begins the altcoin move. The reason it's good, when the altcoins move, you see memes move, just like back in 2021 at a very, very rough, rapid rate where short sellers get demolished. Institutions are steering away, and if not shorting, there's signs. The signs are aligning for an altcoin season, a GameStop AMC season, and a possible sell-off in Bitcoin. This is the one thing that I may have to change my thesis on if Bitcoin doesn't hold the 200. I'll say it again. Lottery stocks called for downside in a bear market on Bitcoin. I said if this, then that. Some people will still interpret it wrong. But that is what I got for you guys for today's video. The Discord link is the top of the description. It's the very top link. Make sure to join. I post my trades as soon as I take them, and we talk stocks and crypto in there all day long with the most amazing people. Best vibes, best family, and I appreciate all the new members coming in. Remember, I will not DM you unless publicly disclosed in the main group chat in there. But yeah, that is it, guys. Also, if you want up to 60 free stocks, download Moomoo, open an account, make a deposit. And I do want to let you guys know, for the family here, I will be gone the week of June 29th to July 6th, but I will want to get some videos prepped for you guys. I'm already beginning to work on a couple. If you want anything specifically, remember to request it in Discord. If you want any specific video made or ticker covered or anything like that. That is it, guys. I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. God bless. Lottery Stocks out.